Hi, and for this episode for Yoga for Bedtime, our Vitamin Z's series for this holiday month, we are going to be working quite a bit into the back body and into the hamstrings. You can do this completely without a mat and also without any props whatsoever. But since we are working into the hamstrings and we're going to go probably for some reaches of our feet, which can be a little hard for those of us who have shorter upper bodies, you may want to have a strap with you so you can reach your foot a little more easily. We're going to go ahead and get started. No delay in preparing ourselves for our bedtime routine today. And we're actually going to start in a standing forward fold. So if you'll join me, we'll go ahead and come up onto our feet, hip width distance apart. And from here, you can go ahead and allow the hands to come to the hips, maybe a slight bend in the knee. And from here, we will just allow ourselves to bend at the hips. You can keep a nice bend in the knees and then allow the upper body to fold forward. And remember, this is a pretty deep stretch and can be quite challenging for many people. You may not get very low at all with the upper body, but that's where I encourage you just to keep a bend in the knees because the back of the legs, the hamstrings, and the low back can get really tight on us during the day. If this is the first posture, the first movement, mobility movement that you're doing for the day, just know it's completely normal to feel really stiff. And like this is already a challenge. But this is where we start to move ourselves into the breath. Take some of that focus instead of being, I feel so tight and that this is very challenging for me, and start to move it into the breath and find that rhythm, that ease to move that breath in and out of the body. It's automatic, but when we make it our focus, notice how you can move the breath deeply throughout the body. As you do so, you may find that some parts start to release a little more. Maybe the upper body feels like it's a little heavier, starts to hang a little more deeply. Perhaps you can shift your weight even more into the ball of the foot. As you do so, just be mindful of your balance. I like to set my hands down onto the floor just so I don't get so into my forward fold that I don't tip right on over. On your next inhale, we're going to come up to a halfway lift. You can have the fingertips onto the mat or onto your soft surface. And from here, we're going to lower down, lowering into a toe stand. So before we do so, we're going to move the feet a little closer together. So just a little less than hip width distance. And then you can use the fingertips for balance, bend into the knees. As you do so, start to shift onto the ball of the feet, lifting the heels up off of the floor. And then from here, we're going to sit back onto the heels. You can certainly have your hands or your fingertips onto the floor, maybe onto a pair of blocks. Or if you love to have toe stand in your practice and you want to have the balance, you can bring the hands to prayer and hold in your toe stand. Starting to work the smaller muscles into the feet, into the arch of the foot. You're feeling those very small movements that keep you afloat in this posture. And now if you would like to take the next challenge, we're going to lower down onto our glutes. So this can require quite a bit of ankle mobility. If you just want to use your hands to settle yourself back down onto your glutes, go ahead. Otherwise, you can shift back and allow yourself to come onto the soles of the feet, and then allow yourself to come down to the floor or to the mat. From here, we're going to shift down onto our backs. This is where you may want to grab that strap. We're going to start to move into the back of the legs and the back body and start to unwind a little further from here. So to get started, you can keep that right knee bent. I'm going to start working and focusing on the left leg. So let's first start by drawing the left knee into the chest. Allow the upper body and the arms to be really heavy by your side. Draw that knee into the chest. If it feels good, you can extend the right knee out nice and long. At any time during this sequence on the left side, if you want to bend the right knee, that will make some of the postures easier, a little easier to tolerate. Now with the left knee, let's start to open it out to the left side. So we're opening the left hip. We're still drawing the left knee in and up towards the left armpit, but it's moving over to the left side of the mat. I like to keep the right hand anchored onto my right hip, almost like we're keeping that right hip pinned down so we're not just rolling over to the left side. And the next breath will bring that left knee back on into the chest. From here, we're going to wake up the back of the left leg by doing some nerve glides. So we're going to interlace the fingers behind the left knee, keep it drawn in, and then we're going to go ahead and keep that toe pointed, extend the left leg. You can keep a nice bend in the knee. We're just going to go to a point where you feel a somewhat stretch into the back of the left leg, not our fullest extent. At the top, let's flex that left foot. Bend the left knee and then bring it back down. From here, we'll point the left toes, draw them up, flex, pull it back down. Point the left toes, flex, draw it back down. I can already feel the back of my left leg working. We're going to take about 10 rounds here, moving nice and slow. Keep your breath moving. The hands are there just as a guide, just to keep that knee drawn in. Very good. One more. We'll flex the foot, bring it down. And then from here is where you may want to grab your strap. We're going to go for our half happy baby on the left side. So you can take a hold of your left big toe, maybe the outer edge of the left foot, or you can even keep the hands on the back of that left inner thigh and draw that left knee in towards that left armpit. That works really good as well. It's a transition point until you can make the grab, or if you want to grab that strap, you'll hook it around the bottom of that left foot. And we're going to draw this into our left half happy baby. Keeping that knee pulled into the armpit. The left arm, it's not really doing a lot of work here. It's just using gravity to pull that knee in and down towards the armpit, towards the mat. You're going to start to feel the back of that left thigh, the left hamstring. Start to feel some action going in there. And of course, this is a very deep hip opener on the left side. Now, whatever grab you're in, whether you have the strap or the foot or maybe the hold on the back of the thigh, we're going to straighten that left leg out. Straighten it as much as you can without being too forceful. Just trying to straighten the left knee and then go ahead and bend the knee, draw it back into the armpit again. When you're ready, we're going to straighten it once more. The left leg will be opening just slightly out to the side, so it's opening away from the body, kind of at a diagonal. Bend the knee, draw it back into the armpit. Maybe you feel it come in a little deeper. Straighten the left leg. And then draw that left knee in. Very good. Once more, we're going to straighten that left leg. From here, we're going to bring the left toes to be more to the midline, so the toes above the nose. And from here, I kind of like to have my right arm also anchoring that leg, trying to draw it in, but nothing too crazy intense here. Again, if you want to keep a bend in the knee, we're just going to use the weight of the upper body to encourage the back of the leg to release. Now, if your right knee was still bent, great. We'll go ahead and keep it there. If you have your right leg straight, we're going to bend that right knee, bring the sole of the right foot flat onto the floor. And then from here, we're going to bend the left knee and cross it over the right. So we have these little crossy legs going on. We're going to come into a reclined version of cow face pose. So we're going to bend both of the knees in. From here, you can interlace the fingers behind the right thigh and draw the knees down and in towards the chest. Another option is take the hands, bring them to the top of the shins, and then still draw the knees down and in towards the chest. A more challenging option is to grab the outside of both of the feet and drawing them down and in. More intense version would be to open up the feet wider, but at the same time drawing them down towards the mat. Holding our reclined cow face pose. Go ahead and release the legs. Keep the cross of the legs, but allow the right foot to come down onto the floor. From here, we're going to take our reclined twist. So go ahead and lift the hips up slightly. We're going to place them over to the left, maybe 1 or 2 inches, so that as we roll the knees over to the right side, we're going to fall onto the outside of that right hip. Now you have a nice twist in the legs, and you can keep the twist. If it's too much into your back, you can take that twist away and just stack the left knee on top of the right. The right arm can come out to a straight arm T shape, or you can bend the left elbow for a little cactus shape here in your twist. As always, I prefer to keep a neutral gaze in my twist. I don't get much out of turning to look over at my left hand. So I like to just make it a little easier on my neck. On the next breath, let's go ahead and unwind. Bring the back flat onto your surface. Unwind the legs. And then from here, we're going to draw both of the knees into the chest. Take the hands behind the knees. We're going to take a few rock and rolls. As we roll and come to the top of our roll, we're going to try to balance onto our sit bones. So coming up to a seated position, but balancing almost as you would in boat pose, but allow the knees to be nice and softly bent. And then staying nice balance here on your sit bones, we're going to go ahead and wrap the arms around the front of the shins, still balancing on those sit bones and the toes just hovering up off of the mat. Allow the head and the chin to tuck in. Deep breath here. And then go ahead and release the front of the shins. Once more, we're going to return back down onto the mat, but this time we're going to just slowly roll, tucking the tailbone, getting a nice little stretch into the lower back. And yes, a little bit of core work, just a little gently working ourselves down onto the mat until we've come completely head, shoulders, full length of the spine onto the mat. Again, as we did before, we can stay nice and bent into that left knee. Straighten it out if you feel at any time you want to go a little bit deeper, or re-bend it if you want to ease out of some of the postures. For now, we're going to just drive that right knee into the chest. Pull it in, give it a nice squeeze. Start to feel the weight of the arms in the upper body. Play around with that left knee if you want to go long, and lengthen into the left leg. Breathe all the way down into the bottom of the belly. Slowly start to open up into that right knee, keeping it drawing in towards that right armpit, but opening it out to the side. Use your left hand perhaps as an anchor on the left hip so that you don't start to lean over towards the right. And then we're going to draw that right knee back into the midline. This time we're going to do our nerve glides. Interlace the fingers to the back of that right thigh. Point the right toes. And then from here, we're going to extend the right toes up towards the ceiling. And just until you feel a stretch on the back of that right leg. And then flex the foot. You're probably feeling it down the back of that left calf, maybe even into the right calf and maybe into the heel. And lower, down. Point the toes, extend the leg. Flex the foot and lower. Take your own pace here with these. I'll do about 10 repetitions or so. Remember, opening up into the hamstrings, into the back of the body really takes time and practice. It's not really something that you can just jump right into. We're not just going to fully jump into the splits and expect our legs to be happy about it. It takes plenty of warm-up, plenty of practice, and consistency in our practice. Once you feel like you've done about 10 repetitions, we're going to move into our half happy baby onto this side. So again, finding your strap. Maybe you have a different hold or a different grip on the right side versus the left. That's totally normal. So whatever position or hold that you want to take, find that. Come into our half happy baby and try to pull that right knee down and in to the right armpit. I still keep my left hand anchored on my left hip. It just feels good. I feel that balance between my left and right, so I don't feel like I'm listing over to the right side with the weight of that right leg drawing in and down. Now from your half happy baby, I know this is a challenge. So again, if you want to bend that left knee, it can make this slightly easier. We're going to try to bend the right knee or straighten the right knee. Straighten the right knee on our right side. Extend that right foot out. It's going to be more at a diagonal, pointing to the back right corner of the room. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight. You can move nice and slow and then start to bend that right knee again. Maybe you feel yourself a little deeper in a half happy baby. Let's straighten the right leg. And then slowly bend the right knee. Move slow and with care. We're going to straighten the right leg. Bend into half happy baby. Once more, we're going to straighten the right leg. And then we're going to draw the right leg over towards our midline. So now the right toes are above the nose. Again, I like to take a grab with my left arm so that I am using just the heaviness of my upper body. Otherwise, my right arm does feel like it gets a little bit tired. Just know that's normal. So if you're like, wow, it takes a lot to just hold on to this strap and to work into the back of my leg, what are we trying to do here? This is a lot. Go ahead and use that left arm to give the right arm a little break. Draw the right leg in. You can have a bend in the knee. From here, let's go ahead and bend the left knee. Bring the sole of the foot flat onto the floor, and then allow the right knee to bend and cross over the left. Finding our reclined cow face pose here in this position. Find your variation. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Maybe interlace the fingers behind that left thigh. Perhaps grabbing the outside of the shins, drawing the knees down and in. You can feel a good hip stretch there as well. If you can go for the grab, you're going to reach for the feet. Maybe grab the outside edges of the feet and draw them in and down towards the mat. Remember, if you open the feet up wider and away from the midline of the body, that's going to give a different sensation. You're going to get a little bit more into those hips. more of a challenge, just as if you were doing this in a seated position and you have the feet opened up wider. And from here, we're going to slowly release the feet. Allow that left foot to plant down onto the floor. Keep the cross of the legs. We're going to press into the mat to lift the hips up just enough so we can place the hips a little over towards the right, about 1 or 2 inches. And then both of the knees fall over towards the left side of the mat. So we come onto that very outside edge of the left hip. Take your arm variation, whether it's straight or bent out at the elbow, and enjoy this twist. Allow the right shoulder to be heavy. It may be lifted up off of the mat. We're trying to stay wide across the collarbone and allow the right shoulder to be heavy, like it's trying to sink down closer to the earth. Feel the breath expand into the front end to the back body. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly unwind and bring our back onto the mat. Straightening out the spine, maybe lift up the hips so that you feel like you're nice and straight from your crown of your head all the way down to your tailbone. And from here, we're just going to take a short Shavasana, allow the feet to walk out nice and wide, and the knees can drop inward so that they're supported against each other. And then the hands can come to the belly, maybe into a diamond shape as you take that diamond and place it over the belly button. We'll breathe into the space of the hands as we inhale and exhale, allow the belly to rise and fall. As we spend just a relaxing moment here in a Shavasana, not for too long, because the intention is to carry this space, this peaceful and restorative energy with you into your bedtime journey. If you're ready, go ahead and separate the knees. You can slowly roll onto your side and push yourself up to a seated position. From here, we'll close our class in this episode for our Vitamin Z's series. I hope that you found it restful and maybe you can find yourself sleeping better, maybe sleeping a little longer, or just better quality of sleep in general. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button before you go off to your wonderful slumber. And as always, I hope you have a great evening. Make it a good one. Bye.